My property tax is going up $479 this year. And it went up significantly last year as well. I don't see an increase of the services. I know we were resurfacing some of the roads and we were expanding one of the main roads, but it's quite frankly, like, it's all for additional planning for additional, houses to be built. This isn't something that my community is necessarily asking for.
There's a lot of things that feel like scams in Canada, but one of the things that I hate the most about living in Canada, and this could be applied to the United States as well, is property taxes. Paying for something you already own. You keep having to pay for it year over year, and guess what? Property taxes go up pretty much every single year, and there's nothing you can do about it. The only thing I think is worse than property taxes is probably condo fees, but at least you can avoid those if you buy a detached house, but you can't avoid property taxes, and we're going to discuss it in today's video. And with that being said, let's dive straight into one of my biggest pet peeves about owning a home here in Canada.
My property tax is going up $479 this year. And it went up significantly last year as well. I don't see an increase of the services. I know we were resurfacing some of the roads and we were expanding one of the main roads, but it's quite frankly, like, it's all for additional planning for additional, houses to be built. This isn't something that my community is necessarily asking for. So they even sent a little pamphlet that said that 65% of the budget last year went towards transportation and transit. And mind you, we don't have public transportation here, so it was just their idea of fixing the roads, which was actually a nightmare because they did all main roads leading into and out of town at the same time. We got a new speed trap camera where multiple people are driving, 2 over, 5 over, or whatever it is, like not, a reasonable amount over, and they're getting dinged immediately. Everything seems like it's super over-controlled. The people who are working for the citizens are actually, taking their time and if anything, enforcing more control over the citizens. And it's quite frankly, it's strange to me. So we had the increase last year. We're having an increase this year, but what type of new services are we as a taxpayer going to receive? The small families, the seniors who are on a fixed income, who really can't afford that. I'm just not sure exactly what council's thinking right now, making such a high increase. Because, this is a town where we have one recreational center, and in order to get your kid into swimming lessons, you have to wake up at 7 a.m. the day of, or you're out of luck. So why don't we take 65% of obviously it's not going to be 65%, but take a significant tax and actually, allow me and my family and other young families to benefit from these massive increases. I just don't understand what's going on. We spend way more time banning fireworks. We have, banned introduction or pump up music in the baseball diamonds, even though it's well before the curfew or the, noise time. I'm just not sure where town council is going, but an almost $500 increase. I would like to see the services because I haven't seen them, honestly.
You're paying more to be exploited. They're extracting more resources from you to have bigger control over you with those speed cameras as well. And this is money being used out of your property taxes. Obviously building new roads and stuff. There's definitely things that are good about this, but there's also negative things that come with it as well.
Let's talk about the first item that went to Vancouver City Council on Wednesday. The city's finance team presented a report to council about property tax hikes for next year. They are projecting a 5 to 6% property tax hike with an additional 1% tax to address the infrastructure deficit. So the team gave an overview as to why they're facing financial pressures right now, one of which is tariffs, global economic volatility, and the fact that the city has added around 800 positions in staffing from 2022 to 2025. So the majority of those staffing positions are in policing and in the city's engineering department to address its capital plan. If you follow Vancouver City Council, you'll know that fully funding the police department has been a big priority of the mayor and his ABC Majority Council. Following staff's report, the mayor decided to table a motion, which was successful. He's basically asking staff to come back to the table. I believe in the fall, they'll provide another report on the operating budget. And he's basically saying, look at 3 different scenarios that provide Vancouverites with either a 2.5, 1.5, or 0% property tax increase. There was some pushback from opposition councillors. Green Party councillor Pete Fry tabled an amendment to the mayor's motion. Basically, the amendment would have asked staff to articulate any service cuts. The amendment failed, and so Pete Fry, independent councillor Rebecca Bly, and COPE councillor Sean Orr basically abstained from supporting this item. Fry's reasoning for the amendment was, what are the trade-offs? If we're going to be having a 0, 1.5, 2.5% property tax increase, what are we cutting within the current budget? And the public, he believed, ought to know what that was. ABC basically said, staff already do a thorough job. They are very transparent. We feel like the amendment is redundant. Last year, City Council approved a 3.9% property tax increase. So Vancouverites will have to wait until December when the budget is finalized to find out how much they'll be paying in property taxes next year.
Nothing gets done with the money that comes out of property taxes. It doesn't matter. It looks like you're going to have to pay more every year regardless, even if you don't agree with the way that money is being spent.
Going on par with their neighboring cities, but is this the way it should be? Should they all be that high? That's a question you should be asking yourself, especially for people that are dealing with higher property taxes. When your property tax last year in Toronto, and I forget the number it went up, it went like 6, 7, 8, 9%, whatever the fuck it was. And then you hear that the official number from the StatsCan inflation was 3% last year. It doesn't quite equate to that, and you're paying way more in property tax, but you're saying that it doesn't make sense. Then you got a 25% raise on top of that. I don't think I got a 25% raise, even if you add up the last 25 fucking years that I worked at. So it doesn't make sense. You get this official number, and then when it comes time when people could vote on their own salary, it goes up way higher than that.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is what we have to deal with. So people out there in Toronto, they're wondering why is your property tax going up again next year significantly? Portion of this has to do with salary.
For sure.
And one thing, I don't think it's mentioned here, but it's going to be a trickle down effect. If they're raising the salaries of just the councillors, I would imagine the staff too are going to have to go up as well. So that's another burden. So I just tack it on and just fucking more and more shit. And you got all this crumbling infrastructure. You're paying money to fucking rename Young Dundas Square. What's the priorities? What are they trying to achieve?
You're just mad you're not from Toronto. Believe me, I am not mad. I'm not from Toronto.
Well, if you have to call up an ambulance, there's somebody that needs urgent care and they got to get to see a doctor ASAP. Yeah. And it's fucking blocked because of some protest. And, there's not many different routes when you have one of the major arteries blocked. What the fuck? And you're talking about people's lives are at risk.
Yeah, right? Exactly. Yeah.
Fuck. Just, if you're going to do something like that, go somewhere on the side and just do it where, it's not going to impact people to a degree. But just generally people just don't give a shit.
Agreed.
And this shit happens. And again, it just goes back. That's why it's GTFO time. It's what's the fucking point?
I'm not saying it's only Palestinian protesters. I think Mark.
It's everything.
Mark said it best. You're a loser.
That would piss me off so much, knowing that a lot of the reasons why your property taxes are going up, it's not actually to fix the infrastructure and the roads. It's actually to pay for the massive salary increases to the public sector and the councillors in the city you're living in. That is maddening that's the level of theft that sometimes goes on. But again, that's what it's like being a citizen. If you own property, you got to pay those taxes every year, and they're going to rise every year as well for no real reason, just because. Anyways, leave your thoughts down below about this video's subject, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care.